and welcome to the third webinar of the USAID and Reliance Foundation Women Connect India Speaker Series 2. The topic for today's discussion is women, financial inclusion, and entrepreneurship. This one's about money, cash, credit, physical, digital, and it's about making sure that women have control over it. So last year, while conducting a gender study for a USAID digital agriculture intervention in Bangladesh, I realized that the women play an active role across the agriculture value chain, whether it is in sowing the seeds, caring for or harvesting the crops. Men control the entire decision-making process by ensuring that every activity which involves the finances or economic decision-making, let's say, deciding which crop to grow, purchasing agricultural equipment, selling the harvest, or even making any banking-related decisions. This observation that women are equal partners when it comes to work, but not when it comes to finances, is relevant across livelihoods and across geographies. Today, we discuss a few interventions and strategies with experts from three illustrious organizations, which have been working with women to build their capacity to run businesses and make sound financial decisions. We have with us today Emma Stanton from Mastercard Center for Inclusive Business, and two of Mastercard's intervention partners, Akhila Lean from Industry and Vanita Shinde from Mandeshi Foundation. Hi, everyone. As audience, we have representatives from the awardee organizations of the Women Connect India Challenge 2021, along with colleagues from Reliance Foundation, USAID, DAI, and Dev Global. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And I'm Ritesh Datta, Gender and Technology Advisor at DAI and your host. The Women Connect Challenge India, rolled out jointly by USAID and Reliance Foundation with DAI's assistance, is the national version of the Women Connect Challenge initiative, rolled out by USAID in 2018 to support innovative projects which facilitate women's access to digital tools and solutions. This speaker series, which is part of the India Challenge 2021, is primarily targeted at our awardees, but are also relevant for other social development organizations which are working towards eliminating the gender digital divide in the country. They will be able to access the recording of these webinars on the Digital Frontiers YouTube page, on which these webinars are uploaded post-production for public viewing. This webinar will follow the same structure for our other webinars as part of the speaker series. We will invite our speakers to share their experiences and learnings with us, after which we will have an open Q&A session with them. So keep your pens and notebooks handy so that you can note down your questions during the sessions, and so that you can ask them during the Q&A session. A gentle reminder also to keep your mics on mute if you're not speaking, so that we can have the conversation without any hindrance. Thank you for that. Coming back to our speakers, our first speaker today is Emma Stanton. Emma manages the Mastercard Center for Inclusive Growth's flagship program in India and South Asia, working with implementation partners and the business to drive sustainable economic growth for MSMEs, women, and farmers across the region. She has over 7 years of experience in social impact, retail banking, digital payments, and loyalty and rewards. Prior to joining Mastercard, Emma held various roles at the Royal Bank of Canada across various lines of business. She holds a BA from McGill University and a Master of Global Affairs from the Monk School at the University of Toronto. Thank you, Emma, for being here, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Ritesh. I'm going to quickly share my screen, and if you can let me know when you can see it. Perfect. Wonderful. So thank you so much to Ritesh and to DAI, Dev Global, USAID, and the Women's Connect Challenge for having me today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So I'm going to kind of introduce you all to the Mastercard Center for Inclusive Growth. You may or may not be familiar with the work that we're doing globally. But I think more importantly, I want to focus most of my presentation on a couple of the interventions that we're running with women entrepreneurs in India that really focus on the idea of how we bridge the digital divide in order to enable women's entrepreneurship. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with MasterCard, even at a very high level, kind of the brands, the very iconic two circles, the red and the yellow. But we're more than just a payments technology company. We're more than just a provider of credit cards, as many know us as. In fact, we are deeply committed and have a history of supporting social impact and really leveraging all of the company's assets to do so. And our thesis really rests on this idea that digital is incredibly important to driving inclusive growth. And I think with COVID, we're really at an inflection point where if we don't address the digital divide now, we're going to really see some kind of major impacts to a lot of the success that we've seen in terms of building a more inclusive economy. So we're kind of at this point where we need to do something, and we need to do it fast, and we need to do it through partnership. So as I mentioned, MasterCard has this long history really of driving social impact and kind of doing well by doing good, as our former CEO, Ajay Banga, used to say. And so I'm sure many of you have heard of what's called the MasterCard Foundation. And we actually established that very early on in 2006 when the company went public. We took a portion of the company's IPO to create the endowment of the MasterCard Foundation. And as the company has done well, that foundation has only gotten bigger. I think we saw an opportunity in 2014 to take our commitment towards inclusive growth and financial inclusion a step further. And that's when we established the MasterCard Center for Inclusive Growth. So that's where I sit. It's the global philanthropic hub of MasterCard. It is distinct from the foundation, which is a wholly separate corporate charity and kind of sits outside of the company. It's a separate entity, whereas the Center for Inclusive Growth is a part of MasterCard. And what that enables us to do is really leverage all of the company's assets to drive forward our vision of inclusive and sustainable economies. And so that kind of brings me to kind of what is the center and how do we do the work that we do. Like I said, we bring together all of the company's assets to kind of build towards this vision of inclusive growth. And that's not just philanthropic funding, but I think more importantly, things like the company's technology, our people, our data, our expertise, our network to kind of accomplish social impact. So we really see ourselves as more than a funder and kind of important towards driving, leveraging our assets to drive inclusive growth. And we kind of do that in three distinct ways. The first is through supporting actionable research by independent academics, data scientists, think tanks all around the world to kind of test what is it that drives inclusive growth? What interventions could we kind of theoretically study that will result in inclusive growth? So they're kind of constantly doing research to answer those questions. We then take some of the interventions that our research suggests might be most effective, and we fund programs on the ground to test them. So the idea is, how can we work with implementation partners kind of all over the world to test these ideas that we've discovered through research and really, again, drive forward inclusive growth. And so I'm really excited. You'll hear from industry, a former grantee of MasterCard, and Mandeshi later today, and where they're working, or they've worked with us on this kind of impact pillar. And then, of course, we have our influence pillar, and that's really bringing together leaders on the front lines of inclusive growth to talk about what's working, what's not working, sharing learnings with one another, looking for collaboration and partnership opportunities so that we can kind of drive forward the field together. We work with three distinct communities across the world. So we've got small businesses, workers, and communities. But I wanted to dive into kind of what we're doing specifically in India, where our focus is really on small business. And so today's conversation is about women's entrepreneurship. Women entrepreneurs are one of our subsegments of MSMEs that we focus on in India, because we recognize the important role that they play in driving inclusive growth. Because when you invest in a woman, when a woman kind of invests in herself, she's not only investing in herself, she's investing in her family and her community. And there are a number of kind of trickle down effects to investing in interventions that support women's entrepreneurship. So I'll kind of briefly introduce you to our digital section program, and then I want to get into two gender specific ones. Digital section is a comprehensive digital capacity building program for MSMEs across India. We're working with the Confederation of Indian Industry, which is a trade association that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, to really deliver training that helps MSMEs adopt digital, and as a result enables competitiveness and resilience. And so through this program, we're hoping to reach over 300,000 MSMEs and enable actually 50,000 of them to adopt digital tools with the aim of helping them grow their business and become more financially resilient in the face of economic shocks. We've partnered with USAID actually and DAI and Access Development Services to implement a program called Project Karana for Women. And before I jump into Project Karana for Women, I thought it'd be helpful to kind of acquaint you guys with a program we ran before we partnered with USAID Access and DAI on this program. And that was another program called Project Karana. We're not very creative over here at MasterCard. And the focus of it really was how do we kind of equip the Karana segment with the digital skills they need to remain competitive. They're facing a number of competitive pressures, including the increasing popularity of big box stores and e-commerce platforms for grocery, as well as changing product demands from consumers, this growing middle class, and then of course an increasing demand for digital payments. So we wanted to build a program specifically for the Karana segment, and so we conducted a bit of research to understand the profile of the average Karana. And what we learned was that depending on the city you were in, only 3 to 10% of Karanas were owned or operated by women. And we felt that was a really, really, really low number. I think we can all acknowledge on this call that the rates of women's entrepreneurship in India are a bit lower than we see globally. I think that's true of all of Asia Pacific, actually. But this is even lower than that level, which I believe is around 25 to 30%. So 3 to 10% was a really small number. So we took this insight to USAID and said, look, we've already tested this intervention and this innovative pedagogy that blends tech and touch in order to deliver kind of content and training specifically for the Karana segment. But we want to do this specifically for women entrepreneurs and focus on not only equipping them with the digital skills that they need to kind of remain competitive, but also empower them to become the financial decision makers within their business and really take on a leadership role. And so that's what gave birth to Project Karana for Women. And so we're about midway through implementation, should be wrapping up towards the end of the year. And we are working with around 3,000 women Karana entrepreneurs in Lucknow and Kanpur to help them leverage business best practices, kind of integrate digital tools, and hopefully access credit where possible. So bringing in that financial inclusion component as well, with the aim of helping them attain business growth through increased revenue and market expansion, as well as attain the skills, knowledge, and resources they need to operate a successful and efficient micro enterprise. So that's the program in a nutshell. And the interventions combine kind of 3 components. So First, there's delivery of a video-based training set with a female protagonist character named Buddhi Money. So it's a play on the name Buddhi Mun. And Buddhi Money is kind of the savior of the community who helps Karanas around in her area to kind of tackle these financial inclusion and operational challenges that they can encounter on a day-to-day basis. So we've got that video-based content. We also have training sessions run by cluster coordinators who are providing, of course, group training sessions, but also critically one-on-one hand-holding support with each Karana to help kind of customize to the specific needs of that woman Karana entrepreneur what they need to adopt digital and adopt these various business practices. And then we've complemented that with these Buddhi Money clubs. And so those are really an opportunity for peer learning and bringing together Karanas from similar areas to help them, or women Karanas, I should say, to help them learn together, but also solve problems collectively and talk about what they're facing in their business and how they can address that. So it's a really interesting program, kind of from a midline perspective. We're seeing some of the great outcomes that we're anticipating to achieve. We're already seeing ourselves work towards those targets. So we're excited about this and excited to continue sharing the learnings from this program as we start to codify and document the results. And I wanted to end with Mandeshi and the Rural Women Chamber of Commerce. I won't speak to it at length because we are very lucky to have Vanita in the room from Mandeshi, who will do a much better job describing not only Mandeshi, the foundation as an organization, but also what we're trying to achieve with the Rural Women Chamber of Commerce. But what I love about this model is that we are bringing women entrepreneurs together to collectively solve problems and collectively answer orders and build their market access, right? And get access to support services. And so, you're unlocking this kind of approach to doing business that a lot of rural women entrepreneurs don't have access to, and that's the Chamber of Commerce model. And so large companies like MasterCard, we're members of a variety of different chambers of commerce. We benefit from the fact that we learn from our peers and we're able to easily connect from our peers and have this collective bargaining power as a result of being a member. And the Rural Women Chamber of Commerce offers that to rural women entrepreneurs who are kind of micro enterprises in Maharashtra. So it's an exciting program. We've already reached over 10,000 women through this grant, through a previous grant, and actually we've expanded the partnership, and we are actually already exceeding our target about a year and a half before the end of project closure to reach over 2,000 more women. And that's only a portion of who Mandeshi are reaching through their business school, their Women Chamber of Commerce, and a number of other programs that they have to support rural women entrepreneurs in Maharashtra. So with that, I'll wrap up. I hope I've given you a good taste of kind of what we're trying to accomplish at the MasterCard Center for Inclusive Growth within India. I would say there are people just like me kind of all over the world testing interventions in various different geographies. And that's one of the benefits that we have as an organization of making this a global philanthropic hub. So just as much as I'm bringing in learnings from Mexico and Kenya and Indonesia, I'm also sharing the learnings from India with my colleagues abroad. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this conversation so that I can not only learn myself, but also start to share this at a global, share some of the successful interventions people are using to bridge the digital divide for women entrepreneurs at a global level. So thank you, and back to you, Ritesh.
Thank you so much, Emma. Center for Inclusive Growth has a wealth of experience in this space, and all of us can learn so much from you and Center for Inclusive Growth's work. So I'm really grateful that you had the time to sort of share your insights with us. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions for you as well. Our next speaker today, like Emma pointed out, is Vanita Shinde. She's from Mandeshi Foundation, which is a current implementation partner of the Center for Inclusive Growth. Vanita Shinde is the Chief Operating Officer and head of the Women's Empowerment Program at the Mandeshi Foundation. She oversees the overall development and implementation and administration. Over the past 16 years, Vanita has played a key role in developing various partnerships, funder engagements, and business expansion for Mandeshi Foundation. Over 8 lakh women have been trained under her leadership, and Vanita hopes to positively impact 1 million women by 2024. Over to you, Vanita. I think you're.
Yeah, thank you, Ritesh. Thank you. Namaste, Vanita Shinde representing Mandeshi Foundation. Thank you so much for the invitation and this opportunity. I think you can see my screen, right?
Yes, Vanita.
Yes.
We can see your screen. Yeah.
So Mandeshi work with the women entrepreneurs from the rural parts of Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Karnataka. Our focus is empowerment of women and transforming their lives through entrepreneurship. Till now, we have reached around 825,000 women and girls. Mandeshi aims to reach 1 million women entrepreneurs by 2024. Mandeshi, we promote women's entrepreneurship because our vision is for women to have more control over their lives and to value themselves and feel valued by others. I would like to share a story of Anjali, who was a housewife from Latur, Maharashtra. She received the training in the month of March, immediately started spice business in the lockdown, purchased machinery for spices. It was April and May month, main season for spice business. Mandeshi provided marketing linkage support to her, and currently she is earning 50,000 rupees monthly. She has her own brand named Ganguaji Masala. She also received big order of rupees 50,50,000 in October. Immediately, she has hired 40 women to meet the demand and successfully completed the order. Recently, she has purchased land at MIDC area and converted her small business into factory. While working with women, we realized that it is not enough just to provide savings and credit facilities to women. But if we really want women to become a successful entrepreneur, it is very important to provide business training to them. And with this idea, we have started first business school for rural women. Business school provides Hunar, Hisab, and Himmat to rural women. Shobha says, today I can order to the wholesaler sitting at home. I can send money online. The goods come at my door. All this boosts my confidence. It saves my time, which I can invest in business. She also added that since I started using digital banking, the money I had to pay to the broker was saved. The purpose of the business school is to support women like Shobha to set up and run their businesses successfully. One of our flagship program of business school includes goat farming and insemination program. Currently, we have 40 goat doctors who go door to door and do vaccination, insemination, and primary treatments to the goats. They all have two-wheelers and travel with their container and equipments. Our goat parrot have formed a WhatsApp group named Digital Animal Market And around 5,000 goat farmers are there who exchange their ideas, best practices, and even they buy and sell their goats using this group. Proud to say that our success rate for artificial insemination is 84%. And seeing this impact, state government approached Mandeshi to work together, and Mandeshi has entered into an MOU with the government to scale this program. When we started business school, the major challenge we face is that the women and girls who were living in remotest areas, they asked, because of time and transportation cost, we cannot come to your school. What about us? Mandeshi started business school on this. Mobile bus offers same courses which we provide through business school. The bus is fully equipped with the instruments, machines which are needed to deliver the program. We also have buses designed and customized specially for digital literacy program, which travels to different villages and trainings are conducted at the doorstep. Again, this bus is fully equipped with an ATM machine, laptop, computers, mobile tablets, and LED screen to provide digital literacy to rural women through digital Didi. Women face several barriers, mostly related to their self-confidence. For example, while learning digital modes of payments, women are concerned that they can lose their money. Our team has several ways to address this. They started sending 1 rupee to the trainee's account and asked her to send a rupee back. As this is a small amount, women are ready to try this exercise multiple times to make sure that they are doing it right. So, at first, our women found using digital tools very challenging, but now they all have adopted very well in their businesses. Some of them even do not have their own smartphone. They use phones of their family members. Manisha, who cultivates pomegranate, she says, I practiced 20 times on your ATM machine until I had the confidence to handle the machine. She performs all transactions related to agriculture activity digitally. She taught digital banking to the men in her village. She says this with the pride that she is the first woman farmer in her block who does transactions online. WhatsApp and Facebook has supported and provided training to our digital Didis. Didis travel from village to village to encourage and train women to take control of their own digital mobility. In the last 2 years, around 100,000 women entrepreneurs started using digital tools to market and promote their products. Sunita, who has a grocery business, her business stalled in the lockdown. So she started her business on the road. Since her shop is on highway, her main customer was truck driver. But she was afraid and worried that the corona would spread from the notes. Our trainer told her to take printout of the QR code, put it in the shop and accept the money through QR code. You may not believe it, but she earned rupees 200,000 in just 1 month. Mandeshi is also playing a role as a resource organization for the partners like Swadesh Foundation, CII. Even Genpact and United Way has adopted Mandeshi's livelihood model. We have our own structured pictorial modules available in the form of storytelling, games, role plays, and also in the form of comics. With the support of the Srishti Institute of Art and Design from Bangalore, we have digitized all our models. When women want to grow and scale their businesses, they face a number of challenges. They are doing businesses since last 10 years, but do not have basic business registration. They want to buy machineries for their business, but don't know know where they will get affordable machines with good features. Women says that they need ongoing market and bigger loans. They want to create and market their brands and need mentorship in financial management. Our Chamber of Commerce provides end-to-end support and handholding to women entrepreneurs. We have a partnership with district industry centers. They linked us to the various banks like Bank of Maharashtra, ICICI Bank, Grameen Bank, Bank of India, SBI Bank, HDFC Bank. Now our women are getting credit with 35% of subsidy. We also have Mandeshi Bank, Rural Women's Cooperative Bank, which is a sister organization of Mandeshi Foundation. We do link our beneficiaries with Mandeshi Bank to start and expand their businesses. Last year, 5,000 women have also invested in machineries for business expansion. Even our mass initiative is a successful example. With the support of CIPLA and IICT from Hyderabad, with all virtual training, our women made 50,000 of masks and sold it to the medicals, government hospitals, government offices, corporate companies, MIDC companies. During COVID, women wanted to rebuild their businesses. They were looking for new business opportunities and asking for small loans. Mandeshi has generated 3 crores of revolving grant and more than 6,500 women benefited from this grant. We have designed digital borrowing system and 65% women are doing repayment digitally. Mandeshi has designed credit rating tool. Our women use this tool and understand for how much amount of loan they are eligible. They further increase their capacity to qualify for bigger loans. Again, proud to say that the credit rating tool developed by Mandeshi has been adopted by SBI in the loan application form. Through the community radio station, we broadcast content related to financial literacy and business management. This helps to connect with more women and spreads the knowledge to a wider audience. Even the vegetable vendor can come to radio station and share their experience, motivate and inspire other women. With the support of Accenture, we have designed our own database management system and are able to monitor and track the business growth of our women. We have trained and supported more than 600,000 women, out of which 84% women have set up new businesses and improved existing businesses. Participating into Mandeshi program, women are now ready to come forward. They are ready to take the risk. They are using digital and non-digital technology. They are taking decisions in their families and businesses. They are ready to sit in the weekly markets and very confidently facing the customers. They are managing their finances, employees, and leading thousands of other women. Now they have become business owners, industrialists. They are getting respect in the family and community. Now they have property on their own name, have money in their hand, and they have control on their finance. Women from the communities have always inspired us to do our best and provide innovative solutions to each of their needs. We have designed our mission and vision based on this statement: my courage is my capital. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vanita ji. I know that you've been constantly traveling, but I'm really thankful that you were still able to take the time and come and speak to us. So coming to our next speaker, without further ado, our next speaker today is Akila Leen from Industry, which is an ex-implementation partner of the Center for Inclusive Growth. Akila is the Director Partnerships and Communications at Industry. Her role includes developing and maintaining the corporate reputation and brand, fundraising, strategic partnership management, advocacy and influencing, in tune with organization values and ethical framework. As part of the strategic leadership team, she also collaborates in defining and delivering the business strategy and providing overall leadership for industry operations. Over to you, Akila.
Thanks, Ritesh. I'll just share my screen. I hope you all can see my screen. Thank you. So, just a quick cap of what industry stands for. Industry has basically been there for the last 20 years in this ecosystem. And our job essentially is to empower women in rural communities and areas. We have worked with close to about 500,000 women producers and impacted their lives. Our entire endeavor is to make sure that all these women whom we engage with essentially see income generation in the hands of the artisans. We have in the last so many years managed to bring in close to about $58 million worth of revenue and businesses for these women through our model. I'll explain the model a little later. We have to build two largest producer companies out of India. We truly believe that that's where our strength lies. Basically setting up and engaging with the global supply chains by bridging the gaps within the supply chain which is needed. We believe that there's a very strong strength which entrepreneurship within women can bring in. So our focus area essentially has been always equity, gender, and climate. These are our three pillars of intervention. We have been working all across India, also in Ethiopia. Our projects right now go live in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Andhra Pradesh. Let's go to the next slide. So our first principles of intervention essentially is technology playing a critical role in our area and focus. How do we build in technology and how do we bring that to the fore and take the best out of it for the women beneficiaries which we have? Women empowerment has a very critical role to play. I completely agree with Emma when we say when you empower a woman, she not only empowers herself, but also her family and the community. So we believe that there is a huge scope when you actually involve women into the forefront. And thus, our entire premise is to create and generate, more and more women entrepreneurs. We believe that women, essentially, Industry Foundation works with the marginalized women in rural communities per se. So we basically believe in empowering her by bringing her voice into not only her own family, but also in the ecosystem which she plays in. We believe that collectivizing them is not enough, but also providing them professional management and support on a continuous basis is the critical catalytic factor which actually brings them to the fore in the long run. And when we bring in women, we don't look at them as in bringing only entrepreneurs in nature, but collectivizing them in a collectivized fashion, they actually have a stronger voice in the larger ecosystemic play. So I'll delve into the distributed manufacturing system a little later, but the idea is essentially we build multiple collectives within a particular value chain, which are spread all across a particular state or multiple states. They engage and work together and are able to work as one single unit catering to larger markets at large. So our model essentially works at two levels. If you have to actually envisage us to be the Amul of creative manufacturing. We have us playing a role at an enterprise level where we create, incubate these producer companies all over the impacted region which we work in. But we also provide on-ground support. We have professional management teams working on ground, hand-holding these women through all the areas of intervention in the broken linkages of the supply chain per se. Tying all this up is the digital platform, which not only helps in operational efficiency and capabilities, but also brings in transparency and traceability into the value chain, thereby able to impact larger volumes in numbers. They have larger game plan to play with. I mean, they have a larger role to play in the ecosystem, and bring in the strength which they can bring in as a united unit rather than individual women. So this is our model which we play in. We have we call it the 6C model of intervention. When I say that we collectivize women, we basically collectivize women in close to 200 numbers each in the most remote villages. These women typically don't really step out of the homes. They are agri workers moving in a very disorganized sector. Moving them from a disorganized sector to the organized sector is our primary game plan. So we put them into producer companies, 100% owned by them, in a cluster of 200 women each. We go to the deep end of the pool to identify which is the value chain which they need to engage with. So that's where the climate factor comes in, because all our women work in products which are climate conducive or green in nature. And we also do a lot of research in figuring out where is the raw material coming from. And like an example, Tamil Nadu is the largest producer of banana. So banana bark becomes an important factor of raw material for one of our value chains, which we engage in. Banana, of course, bark is either burnt or thrown. So how do we bring that into the mainstream value chain? In Odisha, we work with Siali Sal leaf plates. In Karnataka and in Maharashtra, we work on bamboo. And in Karnataka, we also work in apparel and hand embroidery value chains as well. So Create plays a very important role in identifying the value chain which we need to go in, moving that into products which are conducive to modern day markets. That's another play which we have. We work with farmers in the back-end integration, where raw materials are sourced from FPOs and also handheld in many cases to create sustainable harvesting practices, so that the raw material can actually be traceable for end usage, but actually integrating those raw material into the mainstream supply chain of women, so they buy into these products at a reduced rate and a more negotiated rate. And then we work with them in terms of engaging them into training them. So now next piece is basically construct, where we set up these manufacturing setups in the rural villages. We provide them with adequate infrastructure and as well as professional management support, which is required for meeting international compliances. We give them capacity building training. I'll delve deeper into the capacity building training because that's the theme of this meeting. But the idea is we give them soft skills and hard skills training. Hard skills, of course, is aligned to the value chain which they work in, but soft skills goes deeper end of the pool in terms of giving them empowerment, in terms of gender empowerment on one side, and then you have financial literacy as well as identity creation of each woman. And I'll delve a little deeper in the next slide. Capital is another thing. So we work very closely with funders and grant funders who fund the incubation of these units in rural India. Apart from that, once these units become self-sustainable, they require working capital. They require funding for growth and scalability. Then the idea of actually having a good credible history and credit history of this enterprises is a key factor, because they are able to bring in those, bring in that aspect of connecting them to markets and taking loans and working capital loans. But apart from that, we also look at seeing, actually how can we build on that aspect of capital. And so industry has actually done far more in bringing in rotational capital into picture from grant funders. We are looking at repeatable capital investment from larger economic players We also are seeing impact funding coming in for various business units, which actually comes in with a larger ecosystemic perspective. We have also delved into DAF, which is basically coming from US at a landing price of nearly 12%. So these are the things which we constantly, try to explore, and so that the women can actually get loans at a much cheaper rate as compared to what is currently available in the national markets per se. But of course, they also leverage the markets also, where we see that we can get sources of income, of working capital from various sources. We do have a very strong aspect of channel. So our focus essentially is that our mandate essentially is that don't train a woman if you can't give her the markets. So we work very closely where market advocacy is concerned. Buying from these women collectives plays a larger role in the ecosystemic play per se, like in case of Banana Bark, which I'm going to keep it as an example for this meeting, is that they supply to international brands like IKEA. They supply to Walmart, they supply to Carrefour, they supply to, we are also in advanced talks with Target right now. They supply to Carrefour and, even Caravan. So the idea essentially is that if we collectivize women all across a particular state. In case of Tamil Nadu, we have 3,500 women. In Odisha, we have about 2,800 women. In Karnataka, we have close to about 2,800 women. All these women basically fold into one particular value chain. They're all trained to basically supply to international players and markets. And they are able to actually cater to orders of large volumes, and as well as be able to negotiate better prices, which impacts their lives as well as livelihoods. So on one side, we are talking about B2B like IKEA and the rest of. On the other side, we say that why not women directly engage with consumers? So we have set up a e-commerce site, not necessarily married only to our women or our producers. We also have other producers in the like-mindedness of us. It's called the e-commerce site is called flourish.shop. Flourish.shop is essentially owned by the producers themselves, but we handhold them. We have incubated this platform to basically handhold them to the entire exercise of actually selling their products directly to conscious consumers. So driving that initiative of markets is a critical aspect of what industry does, and that's what brings in the value addition when we work with these women. Connect is, of course, all the applications, softwares, engagement, finding out what they were before this program to what we are right now. What is the impact which it creates? What is the deliverables which we can bring in? That apart, we also have individual credit histories created for each of these women. So when they want to go in and fetch out loans at not only at individual level, at least even at an MBT level and at a producer company level, they are in a position to do that because these things are actually recorded and kept for records for credit history building. So this is a constant endeavor which we do at this one. So I'll just delve into 3 focus areas of growth which industry has. We have 3 engines of growth, primarily. One where we do deep handholding ourselves using the 6E model. We engage, we collectivize them, we have professional management teams handholding them, running the enterprises through the grant period and post-grant period, engaging with them to larger national, international markets, running businesses as such, and providing them adequate amount of support during that period. That is engine 1, where we have proof of concepts. Next is engine 2, where we basically handhold other social enterprises to replicate our model so that this model can actually see larger impact across multiple value chains, something where probably industry does not have, the wherewithal or the expansion capabilities in those value chains. But our entire endeavor is not to grow ourselves, but to grow the larger ecosystem. So with that perspective, we have initiated Region Earth program, where we handle other social enterprises, other smaller organizations run by women or otherwise, to make sure that the larger ecosystemic impact can be created with the mandate of essentially building transparency and traceability to the entire system. So that is what Region Earth program is, where the hand-holding process actually happens. I'll leave behind a note on Region Earth as a program, which if anybody wants to know more about it. Third is the platform for inclusive entrepreneurship. It's called PI. Here is where we build everything. We put all our technology, our knowledge, our intervention, our information onto a platform for, and here we also engage with larger players. We do have a collaborative of 85 such livelihood-based organizations who are in partnership with us. And the pact essentially is to make sure that all the knowledge which can be otherwise available for social entrepreneurs and as well as rural entrepreneurs to be available on an open platform for everybody to use freely. Here we partner with various SRLMs of various states to engage with them and make sure that the the various SHGs registered under them can actually utilize these services free of cost and take these services. Even Flourish sits on it, for example. This is flourish.shop. I'll just quickly run you through the site. Flourish.shop, as you see, is an e-commerce site which actually allows various makers of all natures and varieties to be part of this ecosystem. This particular site actually helps the larger ecosystemic players and entrepreneurs to be part of this platform for the sale of the products. And as they go, we will be providing them additional 6 support as well. Flourish is a platform which can be used by anybody who wants to sell their products online, so long as they're willing to part with traceability and transparency. I can give you an example of Greencraft again. This is one of the companies which we have incubated in Tamil Nadu. And these are the products which are there. But if you see in terms of traceability, traceability is not only aligned to the raw material which they are using, but also best practices, whether it's fair wages or eco-friendly products or women empowerment or handmade or sustainable reproductive ecosystem. We are looking at manufacturing techniques which are used, whether it's organic, inorganic. All these things are provided on a traceable platform for purchasers, buyers to buy into the products which are then made by women. This particular product these are products which are sold by Greencraft. So if I just get into, say, one particular product which we have, this is called the Crazy Weed Basket, again designed in-house. This particular product will not only tell you the what all possible activity, what all aspects of the product and the dimensions, but it also goes into a very unique aspect of cost breakup. If you say cost breakup, we know exactly how much goes into the hands of the artisan. So if you're talking about paying 767 rupees, you know how much has gone for the raw material. What is the artisan earning out of this? How much is the overheads of the company? What is the producer margin which goes into it? And also, what is the flourish margins? Flourish margins is essentially with the idea of order fulfillment and also bringing equity to the producers who own Flourish as a platform itself. So that way we are able, this is one of a kind which we have created in our endeavor to reach the transparency and traceability of our value chains, which we support and engage with. So coming back to capacity building, which I wanted to deep dive into. When we say capacity building, who are our women? Who are these beneficiaries whom we are talking about? We are talking about the most poorest of the poor. We go to the most regional areas of various states where women do not have access to any kind of additional source of income beyond whatever they have. There's NREGA or probably BD making in certain places, which are already homemade activities, but they don't see their average income for a woman would be about 10 to 12,000 rupees a year. I'm talking about those beneficiaries. So these women have never really seen the outside of their home or their village To them, we provide an income generating aspect of building ecosystem within their villages, connecting them to raw materials available locally in these regions, hand-holding them through the entire exercise of creating products which can then be sold to regional and national markets. Gender empowerment playing a very key role in capacity building of the women, hence because then we look at all aspects. We're giving an identity to the women, so we give them training such as myself, what are your wants, what are your needs, what is the access to your control, what is my rights as an individual, as a woman, what is the various aspect which will dive into you being a woman, and what are your rights as being a woman. Next being a 6Y program, I'll delve deeper into that, because in the 6Y program is a financial literacy program. So in the you also have, can you save, can you earn, if you earn, where do you put your money, where do you engage with it? If you have an ATM card, don't share the password with people. Make sure that you are the owner and you are the owner of your own money and your income. Make sure that you have a voice in your family. So how do you basically keep accounts at your family level? Are you able to save as a family? Are you be able to raise monies from banks as a as a family, rather than going to the closest money lender who will freeze you with all the money that you have? What is your role in your workplace? What is your role in your community? What is your voice in the community? How do you play a role in the world, in the ecosystem, and how do you save the planet through the green ecosystem which you're building? So every woman goes through this training program, so that every woman knows that they're playing a role in the larger ecosystem and play per se. Chosen from them is SHG leaders who get additional training, MBTLs who get even more additional training in the entire program. They're given leadership competencies, they're given production capabilities, they're given training in compliances and governance, they're given training in business skills and running the businesses without any issues and problems. Financial literacy is provided to them at a unit level, at a producer company level. When you say producer company, there are 200 women MSMEs. How do you run the financial capability, financials of a MSME? It's a larger ecosystemic play. It's a long run which we run with them for that. And if you go deeper into financial literacy, it also includes understanding financial planning, record keeping, P&Ls, cash flows, bank loans, production costing, pricing. How do you negotiate the best rate with international buyers and domestic buyers? How do you go into aspects of digital literacy? How do you leverage technology throughout the process, thereby bringing a larger strength and ecosystemic play of a woman in the village as well as in the communities that they work in? So coming to digital tools, we use a lot of digital tools all across. So right from Zoom and WhatsApp, women, rightly, thanks to even the COVID part of it, I mean, all these women, stood up to the occasion, and each of our MELs actually have handheld devices to key in information. Now, these are women who are not literate specifically, but they have become literate over a period of time, at least to know how to use the applications which we have provided to them. Trainings are provided on a video platform. We also provide financial literacy curriculums, which basically gives them access to understanding how to use various digital ecosystems like ATM, Google Pay, or even BIM. All these things are taught to them as a first level of interaction itself. Participation in digital attestation is a key factor which actually drives the initiative in terms of giving them the access to understanding what you mean by digital participation. Digital PTA also helps them get certified training. That means every training which they go through actually gets a certification as well, which they can in turn support them in government programs and schemes, which allows them these kind of additional support which they can get in that direction. We do have also technology partners like Alton Collect and Workfridge, which we use as part of our tracking mechanism, and as well as inventory management system and adaptations to that, so that they can build that ecosystem which supports them in the in their optimization of processes, systems, and controls. Our intervention has actually seen multiple fold of impact. I will leave behind our impact analysis, impact report, which was externally conducted by an agency. But 83% of the producers earn more than their previous jobs, is what we have seen. 73% of the producers actually reported increase in confidence at work. 81% producers have increased their savings in the larger ecosystem. Increase in number of producers have, women have actually got additional, access to bank accounts and things of that sort, which of course they did not have earlier. These are the kind of products which our women make. I'll just take you through a few slides about our, photographs. This is Greencraft, one of our producer companies in Tamil Nadu. They work in the banana bark value chain. This is some of the testimonials which our women have. Panachi has joined this program when she was just a housewife. Today, she earns close to 18,000 rupees a month. And she's been one of our star performers. In fact, she even bought a bike with her income, and she actually influenced 5 other women to buy bikes with the income which they are earning within her SHG. So it's inspiring to see women who are otherwise earning, say, 12 to 15,000 a year, to suddenly moving to 4,000, 5,000, and then moving up to the value chain to 8,000 as living wage, and then they start earning, fairly large sources of income for themselves, and that actually increases their wealth, their saving, their voice in the ecosystem, their larger impact in the social value chain, and they also are have a sense of pride within their communities which they work in. Going to the next, I can just run you through a financial inclusion literacy program which we go through. Initially, they are provided with basic financial capabilities. They move on the value chain. This happens over a period of time. Everything is not bombarded onto them initially. After they have gone through successful acceptance of these technologies or this intervention or understanding, is when they move into advanced techniques and then group enterprise training and then enterprise leadership training. All this factoring into the idea that tomorrow they become entrepreneurs and they build a larger ecosystem in their rural villages, and also being a voice, being a stronger voice in the communities which they operate in. So this is Industry Foundation. I stop here.
Thank you, Akila. I think I mean, this is of course, engaging, but I especially love the 6C model, which I feel is a fantastic design framework for programs, aimed at building capacity of women-led enterprises, especially, and correct me if I'm wrong, the micro and the small ones. It's very relevant.
The best thing is its replicability, right? So even without the value chain being involved, how you can replicate it across various value chains.
Exactly. Thank you, Akila, for that. And also a quick shout out to Neha Ashok from Akila's team, who's sort of constantly pitching in with inputs on the chat box while Akila was talking about industry. So feel free to take a look at what you've posted, including the link for Flourish.shop. Moving on to the next piece, which is, as you know, the Q&A session. This, as you know, is an open forum. So, you can ask your questions. Language doesn't matter. Use Hindi, use English. We'll also request participants who have questions for our speakers to use the raise hand function to help me identify you. Once I request you to ask your question, please unmute yourself, state your name, the organization you represent as part of the introduction. Mention who your question is directed at, please, and then ask your question. So yes, over to all of you for any questions that you have. Or maybe I can start while you're still thinking about it. So, and this is a question for all of you, Emma, Akila, Vanita ji. So obviously, there is a lot of focus, and I love the fact that all the programs you talked about are very, very focused on the women, the primary target group that we're serving. But apart from that, I would think that it's the community members, the men who take those decisions in the communities are also very important to engage. So, wahan pe, what sort of are you all sort of? I'm sure you all are doing something. So, any thoughts around your projects and how to do that?
Yeah, I can kick us off.
Go ahead, Amay.
Okay, great. So this is actually something that we contemplate specifically in Project Chrono for Women. So our partnership with USAID, DAI, and Access Development Services. And part of I would say our approach is kind of two-pronged in the case of that program. So first, what we've done is we've actually added to our Buddy Money library of videos to include 3 videos that are actually specifically regarding gender sensitization and helping the viewer understand the role that women can play in business, and in some ways the role that men can play at home and other parts of life that are typically more kind of care economy female dominated. And so through these videos, it's a very compelling kind of storytelling approach to demonstrate that the more traditional division of labor between business and the home doesn't need to apply. So that's kind of the first prong of our strategy. And the second is actually to invite men into some of the Buddy Money Club sessions that we host. So this was actually, I have to admit, not something we had originally included as part of our intervention. It was something that we started to do after a lot of the women asked, can I bring my partner? Can I bring my brother? Can I bring my father? I want to show them kind of what other women are doing and demonstrate to them kind of the power of women owning business. But also they were proud, like they were very excited that they were recruited into this program, and they wanted to in some ways share that with their family, including the men in their life. So that is kind of how we tackle it with Project Chrono for Women. I'll let, of course, Vanita speak to Mandeshi, but I was in Pune back in March visiting Mandeshi. I got to see Vanita in person, which was wonderful. And something that I loved that Chetna actually brought up, Chetna is the founder of Mandeshi, was that instead of celebrating the stories of women, of only celebrating the stories of women who have faced serious adversity and in particular domestic abuse and risen above that, the Royal Women Chamber of Commerce in Mandeshi also celebrates the stories of women who have really supportive husbands and brothers and fathers, and say, you know, this is equally as important to celebrate as a model as those women who have risen above just like horrible circumstances at the hands of men. So I think I like the very positive approach that Mandeshi brings, but I think that hopefully Vanita can speak a bit more to that as well.
Of course. वनीता जी, तो हम लोग बात कर रहे थे जब आप शायद ड्रॉप ऑफ हो गई थी, तो it was mainly about कि कैसे you know we should also look at engaging men and communities. तो Emma बता रही थी वो that rural confederation that you set up, and उसमें कैसे आप लोग men positive and supportive men के भी stories y'all are sort of celebrating. थोड़ा सा बताइए if you can do that.
हाँ रितेश जी, मतलब कैसे मेनली हम लोग महिलाओं के लिए काम करते हैं, लेकिन मेन मतलब रेशो अराउंड 5 to 7% मेन का रहता है, लेकिन कुछ केसेस लाइक फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी, जिन महिलाओं को हम लोग फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी देते तो हम लोग मेन को भी इनवाइट करते, क्योंकि हमारा एक्सपीरियंस ये है जब लोन महिलाओं को दिया जाता है, और हम लोग भी रूरल वुमेन्स कोऑपरेटिव बैंक चलाते हैं, तो हम लोग लोन स्पेसिफिकली महिलाओं को देते हैं, बट आप जब रिकवरी के लिए जाते हो तो अगर महिला नहीं है तो वो पुरुष रहते, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं लेते हैं। तो हम चाहते फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी प्रोग्राम में उनको भी इंक्लूड करना चाहिए, तो हम उनको इंक्लूड करते हैं, क्योंकि उनको भी पता रहना चाहिए कि इन्होंने कर्जा लिया है तो किस लिए लिया है, इसलिए। और ऐसे काफी बड़े प्रोग्राम्स एग्जीबिशंस में हम मेन को मतलब जो हस्बैंड अपने महिला को सपोर्ट करता है उनको ऑनर करते हैं, अवार्ड देते हैं, ताकि दूसरे पुरुष भी आगे आए और अपने महिलाओं को सपोर्ट करे। लेकिन एक्सपीरियंस यही है कि पहले सपोर्ट नहीं होता है फैमिली से, लेकिन एक बार महिला अगर सक्सेसफुल बन जाती है तो फिर सभी फैमिली लोग सपोर्ट करने लगते हैं। मतलब ये भी एक्सपीरियंस है कि मतलब इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू मेक वुमेन फेमस, मतलब महिलाओं को फेमस करना बहुत जरूरी है। हम लोग महिलाओं को अवार्ड देते हैं 5-5, 6-6 हजार लोगों के बीच। वो अवार्ड इसलिए देते हैं कि महिलाओं को फेमस नहीं करना है, इनडायरेक्टली उनके बिजनेस को फेमस करना है, उनके बिजनेस को प्रमोट करना है। तो उनकी पेपर में स्टोरीज देते हैं, रेडियो स्टेशन में स्टोरी ब्रॉडकास्ट करते हैं, तो कम्युनिटी में रिस्पेक्ट बढ़ जाता है, फैमिली में रिस्पेक्ट बढ़ जाता है, कस्टमर बेस बढ़ जाता है। आज पहले मैं गांव में बेच रही थी, अभी मुझे डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल से ऑर्डर आ रहा है। तो ये सब बहुत इम्पैक्ट करता है। थैंक यू।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल जी। तो वो जो हम लोग बात करते हैं ना, women as role models, but the point is in how does it really impact the community? ये आपने इतना बढ़िया एग्जांपल दिया। I completely agree that it's so important to get women become famous in their communities, and that will bring in real change. Sorry, आप शायद कुछ ऐड करना चाह रहे थे।
उनके बैनर्स भी हम लोग विलेजेस में लगाते हैं अवार्ड के। तो समझो ऐसे जब एक महिला थी हमारी राजश्री जाधव, उनको अवार्ड मिला था, देशी एमबीए अवार्ड, और उनका बैनर लगाया था। तो उसका हस्बैंड पूछ रहा था, तानाजी कहाँ पे गया, बीच में तानाजी क्यों नहीं लिखा तुमने? मतलब वो बोल रही थी आपने मुझे कभी सपोर्ट किया ही नहीं। तो मुझे मेरी मदर इन लॉ ने बोला कि आप मत लिखो तानाजी, राजश्री तानाजी जादव करके मत लिखो, राजश्री जादव ही लिखो। तो इस तरह के काफी एग्जांपल्स हैं।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। थैंक यू सो मच बनीता जी। अकीला, डू यू हैव any thoughts on that?
See, the aspect which we bring in most is the women empowerment. So we start with rights, right? What's the right of you in the woman as a woman? What rights have you in your society, in your home, whether you really have a voice in your home? So these are women who are typically suppressed in their lives, right? So they are always under the shadow of the male folk, as you rightly said. But we have noticed, and I second Vanita ji in that once they become successful, right, then everybody wants to be a part of the success, right? So and for us, success starts on the first month of them working with us, right? But the first month when they are there in that training program is the most painful, because they don't understand. Men do not understand that if you go to a place, a factory which they themselves have not seen, I'm not talking about, you know, urban places, but rural villages, they go to this place, about 200 women go collectively into this place, they make baskets. So they have never seen the idea of selling these baskets at a price tag which is, you know, far beyond what is actually sold in the local markets, because these women actually sell to international markets. So hence become so they don't understand this. They don't understand ye basket mein kitna milega, 5 rupees milega, ghar pe kaam karo, you know. So it's that. But then at the end of the month, when they take home 4,500 rupees in the first month, second month onwards, they start taking more and more and more, and as they go, they have, then you'd see stories which are totally different. You have women, actually women, stopping other women from going to work. Mother-in-laws, mothers, elders in the family. Don't go. Why do you go? I have not gone. Why do you need to go? So when these women go out and work, and they start coming back with success story, and their success story is actually earning, their voice in their home, their entire, you know, gamics within the within their homes completely changes. We have seen examples where mother-in-law has shifted homes to the son-in-law's place so that they can take care of the children, so that the women can make baskets. So we have that kind of stories as well. But idea is, yes, I agree. The first 1 month, 1.5 months is when we train them on women empowerment. That is what the women have to stand with. That 1.5, 2 months of, you know, standing into the program and saying you are empowered, you are capable, constantly telling the women, you know, there are others who have learned from the ecosystem, and this is how you learn from them. Other women coming and saying how did they cope up in this particular situation. Having said that, we also feel that men also have to be brought in, and one of the programs which we work with is a power project funded by USAID, and one of the things which they brought in terms of gender sensitization is not only this, but also providing them animations and videos and interesting videos which can be put onto their mobile phones, which they can share with their husbands at home. Because bringing the husbands to the home, to the workplace, is a bit of a toughie, because once they're in, then coming out of it becomes a little difficult. But then they are brought into the ecosystem where women show the men, this is the kind of videos, and we put it in a very small, atomized format where they run through a video story, and that is shown to the men of the house and things of that sort, so that they get that understanding of what this whole thing means, right? And they see that the women, when they start earning in the first month itself, there is a possibility of the same woman earning 17,000-18,000 rupees if they do well. So when they see that as an additional source of income and a regular income, that is the key pointer when we are looking at rural villages, because your men are typically working as piecemeal. They're working in the farms, they don't get average income every month. But here a woman brings average income every month, minimum wage. They get that much every month. So that takes off so much of burden from the men of the family that they are in a position to actually empower them. They become so proud. Most of our women say our husbands are proud of us. So
I know.
that's a different story.
Of course, of course. Thank you for that. I think all of you made very fine and very important points. I think we are rushing, we are already out of time, but I'll allow one last question. I think Smriti has a raised hand. Smriti, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, thank you so much. My first question is to Akhila. So when we are, when we are working with these producer groups and when we are having a huge pool of women, so how do we take the concept of group governance? Like when we are taking 300 to 200, means 200 to 300 women together. So it's very important that the whole group should work in a synchronized manner. Each member should be aware of what the group is doing and all those things. So how do we manage such larger groups? Means what are your strategies to make that group, to strengthen that group? This is my first question, and my second question maybe it's an open question. So it's basically on the decision making part of the women section in their family. So when we talk about the decision making part, how far is it actually practically possible, and how do we monitor this, that whether the female is actually she's allowed to speak in her family or not? So how can we actually monitor that? Because many female, even when we take the example of domestic violence or such kind of things, even if they are beaten by their husband, they do not reveal it outside. So it comes like wo ek izzat ka baat ho jata hai. So similarly when we
Bilkul, yeah.
talk about the decision making part, तो क्या हमें मतलब क्या हम उन पे यकीन कर सकते हैं कि वो हमें सच बताए कि उन्हें घर में बोलने दिया जाता है, या वो पार्टिसिपेट सच में कर पाते नहीं कर पाते? हाउ फार इज इट प्रैक्टिकली पॉसिबल टू मॉनिटर दैट? And the last question is
Smriti, I love to stop you there. So, we are out of time, so we cannot take so many questions. I think, yeah, we'll just let Akhila respond to whatever we can within the short time. But I agree, Smriti, these are very important points. If you want, we can have a conversation offline, and we'll also loop Akhila in. For now, Akhila, please go ahead.
Yes.
Let me start with Smriti. It's an excellent question, right? Because one of the main things what Industry Foundation does is basically works in groups of 200, but these groups of 200 are sub-split. Each 10 women has somebody called an MEL, micro entrepreneur leader. So 10 women work with one leader. One leader basically handholds them through the entire exercise of not only creating the product using methodologies which are systematically taught to them, but we also engage lean manufacturing methods, engaging so that these 10 women as a group become productive. So these 10 women are actually basically report on to one MEL. MEL basically monitors the quality, practice, control, timely deliverables of the product which is given to them. Apart from that, all these MELs go through additional training on how to manage the women, how to build work efficiencies at their group level, how to bring in financial literacy within their group, as well as bring in the work efficiency models which are created. They all have handheld devices which they key in their information so that each of the women get, their income through piece. They all get paid by the pieces which they make. So building work efficiencies, comparing themselves to other groups so that they can do better. All these aspects is taught to them within the group. So if you're looking at 200 women group, you're looking at basically having 20, SHGs working within those 200 women, and as a cumulative group, they work together to, build a larger ecosystem. These 200 women groups are multiples in nature within a given state. So if you have 3,600 women in Tamil Nadu, you have 18 MBTs in Tamil Nadu, each one focusing on various areas of focus. Orders come in from the producer company onto the MBTs. MBTs then produce and service the orders. So as a cumulative group also, there is a lot of emphasis on productivity, quality, so that MBT can get better, larger orders from a larger share of the pie from the larger kitty which they order. So that is, and also group information sharing. So if there is one particular MBT which is doing excellently well because they are able to do much better, sharing of practices comes into picture. Women from that group come and work with women train women on who are not having that kind of productivity, and actually training the MELs there, who in turn imparts that training, because there is no dearth of orders here. It's the dearth of actually implementation. So the more they make, because they all make handheld products, right? Handmade products. So how do you enlarge this one? So it's a very well collectivized, works as a music to many people, especially when it starts becoming in a larger perspective. I'd like to answer the next aspect of monitoring. So let me tell you, when you ask individuals, you will always have an issue with, nobody wants to come up. I completely agree with you where you come from.
Correct.
But when they work in collectives, and they work in collectives on a daily basis, they become friends. They become best friends. They long to come to the work. They long to share. What's happening in their homes can actually be shared. And that is actually monitored within the group, like MELs who are there. This information is actually collected and then incorporated into the women empowerment program. And the women empowerment program actually tells them what is right from wrong. You're not supposed to be getting this. You're not supposed to be getting beaten. This is how you react when things like this happen. This is how your rights are. These are the processes. And we keep improvising on these processes so that they start generating a voice in their home. And that is a constant endeavor. And that's something which we always keep monitoring, but not really with the idea of poking noses in their personal lives. But it comes out in the open system and they help each other. It's amazing to see that some of the women actually come to work, not for the money, but for the friends which they make in that group, right? So it's a different, environment that you create there. So I hope I've answered your questions.
Thank you,
you so
Akila. Thank you. I am cognizant of the time, but we already have 2 questions in the chat. If you can stay back, we'll maybe take not more than 3 to 4 minutes to respond to those, and then we'll close. So the first one from Sonal: how does women empowerment initiatives drive shift in decision making in the household? I'll quickly respond to that. We did talk a little bit about some of the tools that we've used, which includes, looking at family members and communities, incentivizing them for positive behaviors. We talked about, women role models, and we also talked about stronger collectivization of women. But beyond that, also there are other tools which get into the realm of, behavior change and behavior change communication, which we can talk more about. Sonal, I'm sure. Do reach out. I'm happy to connect you to whichever speaker you want to, or I can share my thoughts as well. We have a question from Himanshu, and this is for Vanita ji. How many entrepreneurs are self-sustainable and can serve the loan from business? ये मतलब आपके प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में ही पूछ रहे हैं कि जो आप
Himanshu ji, since started in 2006, we have trained and empowered around 800,000 women, and out of that we have around 600,000 women आर सेल्फ सस्टेनेबल, मतलब उन्होंने खुद का बिजनेस शुरू किया है और स्केल किया है। ऐसी 600,000 महिलाएं हैं। और जैसे मैंने प्रेजेंटेशन में कहा कि हमारा खुद का इंटरनल डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम है, जो जिसकी वजह से हम मतलब हर एक महिला की बिजनेस की ग्रोथ ट्रैक कर पाते हैं। और जैसे हमारा एक्सपीरियंस महिलाओं में काम करने का है, हम लोग 100% लोन महिलाओं को ही देते हैं। और जो मोबिलाइजेशन या जो रिपेमेंट स्ट्रेटेजी जो हमने अडॉप्ट की है, डेवलप की है, जैसे मैंने क्रेडिट रेटिंग टूल की बात की और एक चेकलिस्ट भी अलग से हमने डेवलप की है, तो वो जो सिस्टम हमने सेटअप किए, ये सब मतलब एक्सपीरियंस है कि 96% महिला अभी तक का हमारा एक्सपीरियंस है कि वो अच्छा से अपने बिजनेस लोन मैनेज कर पाती है। फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी प्रोग्राम भी हम लोग बहुत स्ट्रांगली इंप्लीमेंट करते हैं। उसकी एक अलग से स्ट्रक्चर्ड प्रोग्राम है कि मतलब जब महिला लोन लेती है एटलीस्ट 3 लोग फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी देते हैं, ताकि उसको बार बार ये डीप रहे कि मुझे जिसके लिए लोन लिया है उसी के लिए वो यूज करना है, प्रोडक्टिव पर्पस के लिए यूज करना है। तो हाँ, एक्सपीरियंस है कि 96% महिला अभी तक अच्छा से लोन रीपे कर पाई है और खुद के बिजनेस इनकम से रीपे कर पाई है।
Thank you, Vanita ji. Sorry, और भी questions आ रहे हैं, but I'm sorry we are out of time. What I will suggest is, if you have any further questions, rather than forgetting about it, put it on the COP side, the community of practice side that we have for awardees. And I'll look at them. I'll either try to respond based on what I've learned today from our esteemed speakers, or I'll reach out to them and get them to respond to those questions. But do remember to put it up. Uh, let me close by thanking you, speakers. Emma, thank you. Akhila, Vanita ji, for taking the time to be here despite your busy schedules. Attendees, thank you so much again. Please note, as I mentioned, if you have any further questions for our speakers, like I mentioned, put it on the community of practice side, or even if you want, write to me, and I'm happy to seek responses from our speakers. And I will see you next month. Thank you, Akhila. And I will see all of you next month for our 4th webinar of the speaker series too.